Hey, what's up? What's up? We are back in action. Another day, seeing me daily, speaking with you daily, and we're back for episode 71 of the Ask Jay Show. I am Jay Morrison, also known as Jay Mr. Real Estate, the host, I guess, of this show, this platform, which is a simple YouTube interactive kind of blog, or today we're doing live stream. Some days they're pre-recorded, but basically it's my opportunity to answer your questions every day, give some motivation, some feedback, us to interact for this 90-day campaign we're doing, and now we're on episode in day 71. So good news and bad news. Maybe like good news, bad news, good news. Yeah, so two good news is one bad news. So with the bad news first. So bad news is I did not get an alert today from Brandon J. Wigley with your 5 Ask Jay questions. Now, this could be because Brandon got tied up because he's actively a real estate investor. He actively helps as a pivotal part of running my real estate operations, and he has his own tax offices as well. So he's a true entrepreneur, right? Multiple streams of income. So he could have gotten tied up in the hustle bustle of the day, the end of the year coming, preparing for the tax season. It could be because you guys haven't been active. I just searched the hashtag Ask Jay on Instagram, and it was like nothing recent. Maybe I just messed up. I don't know. But I know there's a lot of YouTube hashtags, but it's hard to search on YouTube. But on Instagram, I didn't see much action. I didn't go to Twitter. So maybe you guys aren't being interactive enough. Maybe everybody's burnt out, man. 71 days in. And maybe you guys have had enough Asking Jay stuff. I don't know. Could be that. I don't know. Or maybe he just forgot or got overwhelmed. So that's the bad news. I don't have your 5 questions today, so I won't be answering any 5 questions because I don't have them. The good news, though, so it's 2 good newses, right? That is worded properly. Two good news. 2 whatever. So the good news is, one, that makes 2 days now that Brandon forgot to my 2 days that I missed my day with Jay and had the double, or asked Jay and had to double up, right? So I made 2 mistakes during 71 days, 2 errors, or 2 days I didn't honor my commitment for a daily video. And Brandon had only missed 1. So I was at that time actually doing worse to my protege. And now he's tied me. So Brandon and I are tied. We both have equally, not that I'm saying I'm really excited about that, I shouldn't be, but the competitive side of me, I felt kind of bad when Brandon the other day was like, yeah, you missed 2, only missed 1. Now he missed 2, so we're even. So no more missing for anybody for the rest of these 19 days. I'm going to have to, whip Brandon into shape tomorrow. We're going to have to talk about this lapse of, hopefully everything's okay with him first and foremost. But yeah, we got to deal with this. I haven't heard much from him today at all on GroupMe or email or anything. So I got to check on him after this, actually. But the other good news is that I'm going to still do a video for us today. And it's something I was going to do tomorrow. I might still do another 5 tomorrow. But today I'm going to do my top 5 highlights, my top 5 moments of 2015. Now we're wrapping the year up. It's the year end. I really want to do my top 5 moments of 2015. So in no order, because I haven't really written it out yet. A colleague of mine just asked me during a business dinner, what were your highlights, this year? And I was thinking like, man, I don't know. I didn't much this year. But things that stood out to me this year, and in regards to like top 5 highlights, I would say I want to try to give you some context to it in regards to order, right? So I'm not going to say the best first. I'll try to lead up to maybe the top moment. So out of my top 5 things for 2015, top 5 highlights, like dope moments, like, what I'm saying? Like really impactful moments, I would have to say our Atlanta real estate conference, our Atlanta apartment building training, where we had over 100 attendees at our first national conference. It was, a packed room at the Marriott Hilton in Atlanta. And we really got to do some hardcore teaching for 3 days and like really everyone loved it. The response was great. And from there, we formed our JMA Elite community for apartment coaching. And that went well as well. So I would have to say Atlanta would be number 5 or in that top 5. That was like our, first JMA conference. It was successful. I'm looking forward to doing one in 2016, 1 or 2. So I would say that. Another top 5 moment I would have to say is I was sick or under the weather at during this moment, but when they had the Caribbean Day Parade in New York, and we walked as New Africans under the red, black, and green flag, under the RBG flag. That was pretty dope. It wasn't the attendance I would have wanted for YMC and for us standing up for our nationality, but it was a core group of people that really, were just about Black love and that walked under our red, black, and green flag in the Caribbean Day Parade, saying, we are us, we us. So that was hot. I mean, that was just like, something, again, a historic moment in a sense because, we took action. We didn't sit on our hands and tweet and complain, and we took action in regards to unity. So that was cool. My top 3. Now I'm down to my top 3 moments of 2015. This is really, really hard because, all right, I know what they are. Number 3, drum roll, my top 5 moments of 2015. Number 3 is participating in the protests and the uprising in Baltimore during the Freddie Gray incident. And leading up to that, I didn't protest for Eric Garner. I didn't protest for the Michael Brown murder. I didn't protest for these things intentionally because I was still trying to feel my way out through this whole, how I felt about everything, what's the message we were giving, etc. But, I took action the day after the Freddie Gray uprising happened. And I think it triggered my passion and it triggered my senses. It got me involved to a deeper level. I met a lot of great people through that experience, a lot of great young activists, a lot of great, people that look up to me and people that I look up to. Got to actually march in the streets down at City Hall, voice our opinion, right? I was a voice for us on Wolf Blitzer, on CNN, Anderson Cooper, Fox News, Judge Janine. I'm not saying it for the accolade standpoint. I'm just saying being involved and serving and being active and lending my talents, lending my voice to our community and our issues. Like that was dope for me. That was hot, just being able to serve at that level. And that was just about me getting involved. At the end of the day, I could have sat home again, but God called me to take action and I did. And it was all his plan. And it was, so that part was definitely a top moment of 2015 for me. My number 2 of my top 5 reasons or top 5 moments in 2015 highlights. Number 2 would be going to the Million Man March. And it's like a 2A and 2B. So 2A is going to the march, being invited there, being on stage at the Million Man March, the front stage, having great seats and being able to interact with great people. And then 2B is just walking through the crowds with my YMC members, from all over the country with me. You know what I mean? Like, that was hot. Like, this is me and my organization, and we're there at the march. And then getting, stopped and spotted and spoke to and saluted and encouraged by dozens, literally dozens and dozens and dozens of people stopped me throughout the crowd, throughout the streets of DC, in the evening, during the day, during the march, just who, again, encouraged me and saluted me for my service, to our community and just being a teacher, mentor, role model, and an inspirational figure. So that was hot to actually see the million Black people virtually, and to see that dozens and dozens and dozens recognize me, and not just for like, oh, you're the singer, the rapper, the ball player, not downing any of those crafts or talents, but just saying they recognize me for being someone of substance and of value and of inspiration, to them and to our culture. And so that was hot too. And then my number 1 moment of 2015 my top 5. Since we don't have 5 questions, no thanks to Brandon J. Wigley. My number 1 moment of 2015, I would have to say, at least today, and tomorrow I may do a different 5, is my trip to Mississippi prior to the Baltimore Rising and all those other things. I took a trip to Mississippi. I forgot, I think it was like April-ish, May-ish, somewhere in there. And during that trip, the trip was originally, I wanted to document the behind the scenes of the new Black Panther Party, because I knew the queen who's the chairman, Crystal Muhammad, and some of the other ones from other protests that I did in Texas for Alpha Right. And I built a relationship with them. And I know how, scrutinized that the Black Panthers are looked at by the average person. And I know the picture that is painted of them. And I know a different side of them. And I do know the aggressive, assertive side. And there is a side that has a strong dislike for people of other nationalities that have done our people wrong. But there is a more sensible, I say that from a sense of face value, sensible, not saying they're not sensible, right? So I want to choose my words carefully. But there is a very practical, there is a very human and empathetic, and it really is a sound purpose for them in our community. And I do respect their service to our community, standing up for our community and fighting for our community. Like, you got to think about it. America has all these war heroes that they honor, right? Every country has war heroes and veterans they honor. But in Black America, we don't honor, like, they're not on our walls, most of our walls, even myself, I got it now though, actually, but they're not on our walls as far as our war heroes. I'm talking about the Black Panthers, the Black liberation groups, the ones that were fighting back the government, fighting back the police, the ones that were fighting back slave masters, the ones that were fighting back KKK. They might have shot people and actually killed people or bombed or whatever. And they could, by some, be called terrorists or, thugs or villains and all that. But at the end of the day, they were the people who chose to stand up to defend my people from being slaughtered and being lynched and being killed and being wrongly murdered and arrested by police and wrongly sentenced by judges. Like, they did that. Like, the government just didn't change on its own because of, Like, nah, they did that. They forced their hand, and they were soldiers for that. And did they break American law in doing so? They absolutely did. The same as the colonists broke Great Britain's law and their rebellion and revolution against taxation without representation in the Boston Tea Party. That was illegal. And so history has shown that there's a time for revolution and self-defense. And so I won't be apologetic on their behalf, or I don't think anyone should expect those who fought for our liberty and fought for our justice and fought against police and government corruption against us and fought against KKK and them being allowed in our Senate and Congress and judges and police stations and all of that, and really stood up for us. And so those people, although from a American government standpoint, or typical American citizen, or European American citizen, or any other kind of American citizen, or even Black American citizens who don't know any better, you would call those people like Governor Christie of New Jersey has, had this bounty basically for Assata Shakur, who he accuses of killing a New Jersey state trooper. But there's been evidence proven statistically and there was laws actually put in place in the 80s and 90s about the racial profiling and racial and abuse of Black people by the state troopers. And that night, testimonies have it that the state troopers were actually trying to assassinate them. And whatever, that is all be said, but the corruption and biasness is a fact, it's a historical fact. So the people that fight back against a government that's literally attacking them, that literally has laws in place to attack them, and they fight back, you can't, that is called self-preservation. That's, God gave us a right to defend our lives. And so anyway, those people are heroes. So I did this retreat documenting the Black Panthers. I have all the footage. I've never put it out yet. I'm going to put it out this year. And during that retreat, I was introduced to some elders, not of the Black Panther Party, but from the Republic of New Africa, and just older Black men in their 60s, 70s, maybe even almost the 80s, but definitely 60s, 70s, who have been in the struggle for a long time. I met the president of NCOBRA, the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. And I met a lot of influential, very intellectual, very knowledgeable, very experienced, seasoned freedom fighters and activists. And that weekend in Mississippi, the reason why it's my top moment in 2015, that's the weekend where I actually woke up. I was already passionate about, social rights and financial freedom and bridging the wealth gap. I was already vocal about that. I was hip to that. But I never knew until that weekend. I never knew in all my 35 years, or 34 at that time, I never knew that I had a paradigm. I had the lens on of how I saw the world. I saw the world as I was taught to see the world in my school system, which was as a European American point of view. I saw Black people. I saw our condition. I saw our freedom, or our partial freedom. I saw it as we were taught to see it. That's how I saw it. No one taught me any different. And that weekend, I was taught different, and the light bulb went off through my own adult, mature judgment and practical thinking. And the light bulb went off that, one, I did my own research and found out that the Africans were not freed from slavery. Slavery was partially abolished, with the exception clause that the Africans or anyone didn't commit a crime. But if they did commit a crime, slavery could be enacted. And that is still in law, and it's still practiced through our prison system and mass incarceration. So I learned that. That was one big thing that was a shocker to me. Also, the fact that the African people were never given a choice, right? Or never took a choice to really regroup, huddle up as a nation of people here in America, left over from slavery, and figure out, what their culture was, how to educate themselves. They weren't given, they were stripped from education, land ownership, and business ownership for a few hundred years. And they never got a chance to actually get fully repaired. We haven't got a chance to get fully repaired ever. And nor were we given any reparation, as we know, what I call repair aid or restitution for our suffering. And we went immediately into what they call the Black Codes and Jim Crow, which was immediately out of slavery. The same exact year that slavery was over, they implemented a partial abolishment of slavery through the 13th Amendment, but then created laws that made it illegal to be homeless, that made it illegal to not have a job, that made it illegal to walk on the wrong side of the railroad tracks, literally, that made it illegal to not have a job that a white man approves of. So they made these impossible laws for Black people to get over, and then they would incarcerate them and then lease them back out to plantations through the convict leasing system as involuntary servants, because it was still legal under the 13th Amendment to do so. And that practice still happens today. So I learned all this very quickly in a weekend, and I researched it all, and it's all very true. And it made me wake up and realize that my people, the ones that have the same melanin and skin as me, and I've gotten my ancestry DNA test this year. That's another big highlight I'll possibly about tomorrow. So I know where, the countries I'm from in Africa, and just realizing and putting in perspective, like, holy shit, right? I'll say it, holy shit. I'm actually an African who's just grew up in America, and who mom grew up in America, and grandma and that grandma, but the grandma before that, I already know, was an enslaved African. They weren't called African Americans, and they were just enslaved Africans. And before that, wasn't a slave African, and eventually was a free African in Africa. So it's like, I'm just the leftovers. I'm just the ancestry, the descendant of an African. And so I started looking at it as different as a people. And that was my wake up moment. Like I started really embracing like my culture. Like, yo, okay, like, yo, that's what's up. Like, I'm proud to be an African man. Proud to be an African man. I'm proud to be a new African man here in America, like making it happen. And so it was just an awakening moment. That was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, is to be able to see sense of family and sense of community and sense of country is so important. That's why countries put so much. That's why you see these banners behind us, and every country has banners, and every company and every basketball team has banners and logos, because that sense of community, that sense of pride, that sense of culture is very, very important for the success of any organization or any group of people. And that's why the Black community has not had success, is because we lack the banner, we lack the branding, we lack the culture, and we lack the identity. And so me just getting all those realizations and being able to put my critical thinking hat on and figure out solutions for our community, that has been a very rewarding experience for me. Like, you know, I feel like I could die in peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least I'm not with the wool over my eyes. And I don't believe everything everybody says. I do a lot of research. A lot of my own time I spend researching and digging up. And it speaks volumes when you research it and you go to schools, wow, I didn't know this law was true. I didn't know the Move family was bombed in Philadelphia, I think in the 60s or 70s. They bombed the whole family. Literally, our government bombed a Philadelphia African family. Literally. And the whole block went on fire. Like, Google it. It's for real. Like, literally, there was like, they were doing like atrocious things. The government was allowing atrocious things to happen to our people, and still today. And that's why with the Black Lives Matter movement and all the protests, I just want everybody to take it into full context. It's not new. It's not new practices. These are all the continuation of the old practices, which is why something deep needs to be done about it to justify it, and why we need to unify and understand, you know, who this is happening to and why it's happening, and just what, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. So that awakening moment, long story short, was my top 5. As you guys have seen me be so active and vocal about those things, because it just struck a chord in my heart and my spirit. And so, I mean, same way real estate and financial literacy did. I wasn't interested in teaching you guys or anybody financial literacy or real estate. I was interested in doing real estate, getting my money, building my portfolio, flipping my house, and starting new businesses. Like, I had no interest in teaching at all. People were like, "Oh, you'll be good in front of the stage. You do be good." Man, I don't want to do that. I just want to get my money. Like, I'll be on the stage at the club, standing on the couch or something, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was, and so I had a wake up moment in regards to that, just financial literacy and the wealth gap. And then I went on a tangent about that. And so I evolve and I grow and I mature and I act on that maturity. And so now it's like all comprehensive. So it's not just social or economical, it's everything. And so that's what, you know, it's really broad, and I hate to be that broad, but it's what I know, it's what I'm aware of. And so now I'm accountable to it, and accountable to teach it, and accountable to promote and make you all aware of it. And so that's what these kind of platforms are for. Is just, I'm just giving you game, like life awareness, life enlightening, and like, you know, I BS you not. Like, you get it from anybody and knows authentic, it's from me. And if I misresearch or misspeak or got something wrong, you can always know I'm humble enough and transparent enough to come back to the table and say, yo, I messed up, my bad, or I sped on that one, or, you know, because I take my leadership, you know, very seriously, take my mentorship very seriously. So it's like, I gotta be careful with all my words and all the direction that I give you all. So, you know, but that awakening was number 1, at least for today, in my top 5 moments of 2015. So that's our special kind of edition to Ask Jay. Like the video, share the video, comment below. Episode 72 tomorrow. Appreciate y'all rocking with me for this live stream on a Wednesday night, New Year's Eve. And, you know, make sure you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or on YouTube. It's easier on Instagram, but wherever. Hashtag your questions to Ask Jay. Let's finish out these last 19, 18, however many days strong. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you guys are enrolled for at least one of the courses in the J. Morrison Academy for your financial benefit, right? So financial education, I put in the email today. Know things that you should want to know, things you don't know. Like, if you don't know it, you should want to know it. You should want to learn it just for the sake of knowing it and learning it. So you could use it one day or pass it on one day to your family, loved ones, or even a random person. Like, knowledge is power when you unlock it, and we never know when we're going to need to unlock it. So it's better for us to learn it and know it and continue to grow. And I've learned a lot within my own school, just working with my instructors, listening to their lessons, watching their lessons, and looking at their curriculums. And I think you guys are going to be, amazed and get a wealth of education at a very concise and fast pace, but not too fast, right? In a digestible way. I think that's what we specialize in, is teaching high-level financial topics in a digestible way, along with our mentorship calls. And you'll get a lot of value you can really apply to building your empire, building your legacy. We're just becoming financially stable and comfortable. Like, that's first things first. Like, let's just get comfortable. So look forward to seeing you guys in JMA. Go to JimMorrisonAcademy.com. For those of you who aren't an online learner or need more hands-on training, we have our one-on-one coaching and group coaching. You can go to JMREpartners.com. For any wholesalers that want to joint venture with us, same thing, JMREpartners.com. Any buyers want to get on our buyers list, or sellers that got a hot deal and you want us to look at it, so maybe we can work something out with you, you can go to JMREpartners.com as well. It's sponsored by JM Rep. All right. So thank you all. See you tomorrow. We are out. Peace.